Hi guys, David Stone here, and today I want to talk to you about a technique that we learned and perfected when we were little children, but I want you to start reusing that technique to help you become more fearless, to help you overcome your anxieties, your worries, your self-doubts. And this little technique might surprise you. Now, remember when you were kids, we were little boys, little girls, and we would play pretend. We'd play make-believe, and we would be princesses, and we would be cowboys, and we would be knights, and we would be pirates, and we would pretend to be all kinds of things. And it was so much fun. And when you were a little kid, it was easy to play pretend, wasn't it? Because we didn't have all these well, that's not who you are, and all the shoulds and ought tos and everything that are, we're bombarded with on a daily basis. So what I want you to do is to go back to that 5-year-old self, that 6-year-old self who used to play makeup and play pretend all the time. But now what I want you to do is I want you to pretend something different. I want you to imagine, pretend for, 5 minutes, just 5 minutes only, that you are absolutely fearless. I want you to pretend for 5 minutes that you have no worries, no anxieties whatsoever. And I want you to imagine and pretend, just in the safety of your own room or in your own home, pretend and imagine what that would be like. What would that feel like? And I want you to feel those emotions of being fearless. Pretend, okay? We're not actually doing it. We're not out there in the world taking risks that that might hurt us. We're only doing it. We're only pretending for a couple of minutes. And but as you pretend, and just like when you were a little kid, when you pretended, you were that pirate, weren't you? You actually became that pirate, and you were out on the high seas, or you became that explorer who was exploring all kinds of places. Remember when we would build forts out of blankets, draped over chairs? And we really got into that role. It was so much fun when we were little. And that's exactly what I want you to do now. I want you to pretend and totally get into the role, get into the headspace of what it feels like to be fearless. Now, it may take a little practice at first, but let yourself go. Be that little kid again for just 5 minutes. And feel what it feels like to be fearless. Imagine what you'd do. What would you do if you were fearless? What would you do if you had no worries about failing, about what other people might think, about being judged by others? What would you do? So I want you to pretend for 3 or 4, 5 minutes at the most. And then at the end of that 3, 4, 5 minute pretend segment, then it's okay. Go back to being yourself. All right? Whew. That was hard, wasn't it? Because you're not used to being fearless. You're not used to having no anxieties or worries. And that's okay. But then I want you to pretend again. To have another 5-minute pretend session, pretending that you are absolutely fearless, pretending that you have no anxieties and no worries. And tomorrow I want you to take it a little further. Yesterday was fun. Tomorrow, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to imagine you'd try tomorrow? And then, after 5 minutes, I can go back to being myself again. Do you see how this works? Every day, for just 5 minutes, I want you to play pretend as if you were 5 years old again. Play pretend that we are fearless. Because remember, when you were 5 years old, you were fearless. Of course, that was before the world got to you, didn't they? And told you, you got to be afraid of this, you got to be afraid of that. Oh, what'll happen if they find out? But just pretend. Because here's what happens. Actors and actresses, whether it's on stage or on screen, that's all they ever do is pretend, isn't it? And when they get into a role, they pretend so much that they actually become that person. For the span of 2 hours of the movie or the span of that stage play, they are that character. You can't tell the difference between who the actor is and who the character is because they've totally become it. And that's what happens when we pretend. Because if you pretend today to be fearless, or even just a tiny bit braver, than you normally are. And you pretend for 5 minutes, and then you back off. And then tomorrow you pretend again to be just that little bit braver than you normally are. And then you rest. And then the next day pretend for 7 minutes. And you're actually feeling a little bit braver, aren't you? And you know where I'm going with this, don't you? Because the more we pretend, the more often we pretend, the more often an actor gets into that role, the more natural it becomes. And after a while, you're not pretending anymore. You actually are feeling brave. And you actually are willing to take a little bit of risk that you might not have been before. And we can pretend our way into fearlessness. And you won't do it overnight. I'm not asking you to do it overnight. It takes a while to get used to becoming this new person that you want to be. But by pretending and playing make-believe every day for just a little bit, and today it's 5 minutes, and tomorrow it's 6 minutes, and next week you're up to 8 minutes, and next month you're up to 10 or 15 minutes of pretending to be fearless. And you know what happens 6 months from now? You're not pretending anymore. Because you actually, like the actor, have become that role that you're rehearsing to be. Because as kids, we called it pretend and make-believe. As adults, we call it rehearsing. And that's what you're doing. You're rehearsing yourself into this role, into this new persona, this new person that you are, this fearless person, this brave, courageous person that you've become. Now, I would love it if you want to talk to me about how to pretend, how to rehearse more and more, because I've practiced it myself. I've practiced it for 10 years now, 11 years, and it's working. And I want to share with you. So get in touch with me right there. There's my email address. Get in touch with me. Pop me an email. I promise I will get back to you. I will share with you some of the things I've experienced, and we can talk about what you're experiencing and the struggles and how you can get past those struggles to actually become brave, become courageous, become fearless. And if you like these little YouTube videos that I'm posting every single day, please subscribe to my channel and like them, share them. Comment on them down below, because I'm trying to do this every single day so that you can become braver, more courageous, fearless. Well, that's it for me for today, but I would love you to come back, join me again for another Fearless Living episode. Bye now.